Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
How's it going, everybody? Hopefully we got. Hopefully it's been nice. Well, hopefully if you're over here in the U.S., you're not drowning.
Right. Or on fire.
Or on fire.
Yeah.
So we're getting hit by a damn hurricane and whatnot.
That's right.
Because that sucker was supposed to hit over closer to Texas, and the thing kind of twirled around and went blam.
Yep.
So
surprise.
So hopefully everybody's doing well, and hopefully everybody is doing okay with the hurricane stuff. And there's a lot going on.
Yeah. There has been a lot in the past 2 weeks. So I think what we're going to focus on this week is something that was very eye-opening. So G-Man. I like that nickname, G-Man.
You like that?
Yeah, G-Man. So you sent me a text this week that completely blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's go to just a little housekeeping real quick. If you guys look, we have a new banner here.
Oh, that's right.
Which gives you our Rumble. I think what we might end up doing, I don't know, Ed and I still need to talk about it. I don't know if we're really getting any kind of real viewership on YouTube. I don't know. We'll talk about it, and we might go exclusively on Rumble.
Ooh.
Just because with Rumble there's no bullshit, there's no whatever. I know our friends at Songs and Thongs that do the music reactions. They moved to Rumble. So we're on Rumble now, but just whether or not we should keep messing with YouTube or not.
Okay.
I don't know if we're reaching anybody, but I know our Rumble numbers.
Oh my God,
are
skyrocket!
Getting crazy. So, but anyway, so you see our Rumble handle here. You can hit us up. We're on Instagram as well. Over here we're on X. Here we're on Discord. Right here, and YouTube. Like I said, right in the middle. We're still deciding that. And then there at the bottom there is our email. So if you guys want to email us, talk to us about some stuff or have a suggestion, please hit that. And you can actually do that on Discord over here as well. So
very cool. So
that's all our deals. I don't know if we cover all that. That's the only thing. Because you have to be on all of them to be able to respond.
Right. You can look for us, but we're not there.
Yeah. So Ed and I will talk about it and whether or not we're really getting the interactions on maybe X and or Discord or whatever. We'll see. Maybe Instagram. We'll keep Instagram, Rumble, and then email. But I don't know.
All right. I like it.
We'll talk about it. So back to our information. So I did I've seen this. It's come across, especially my Instagram quite a few times, and it was about transgender prisoners. Now, what part of this is also we found out is when we talk about transgender prisoners. Kamala was also talking about illegals. So we came across there's tons and tons of information, articles, congressional records on what has been said and everything. But so basically, Kamala Harris is big on transgender inmates receiving taxpayer money for transition surgery.
Yes.
Now, somebody might say, well, that seems a little bit, far-fetched or whatever. But here's the deal. Let me explain. Let me kind of just lay this out, and then we'll get into this thing. Let me put this to you this way. If I am a murderer, let's say, and I have a life sentence or maybe a couple of life sentences, and I am never seeing the light of day ever again, all right? So think about it now. I mean, my life's done. It's over, right? Now, if I have the opportunity to identify as a woman, if I'm a man, go transgender, and then I'm able to spend my life sentence in prison in a women's prison. That means I can have sex or I don't know, whatever. right? I don't have to worry about getting beat up by the guys,
Right.
and all this stuff. I can go to women's prison and this and the other. So now there are some people that actually are big on that and actually want the actual surgery. Now that's what we're going to more so talk about today is the fact that Kamala and the Biden administration, well, especially Kamala, if she becomes president, is big on taxpayer money going for transgender surgery. That's bullshit. But anyway, that's where we're hitting. So that's what I sent Ed, and he jumped out like a pit bull, and so that's where we're going today, and let you hear some of the just ridiculous bullshit that's going on, in case you are not aware.
Yeah, this is it's pretty crazy. So just like Gary said, when I received this, I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I had the same question as well. Is the fact that, just like Gary just described, I can get away with it, which is really, really scary. And I have some information on that as well, which is actually kind of odd. So, yeah, with that being said, a couple of the places that you can look at, obviously, is the interwebs. Transgender individuals face statistically greater degrees of violence than other groups when they are incarcerated. Their lives are in serious jeopardy due to the threat of prison harassment, assault, and rape, not only their fellow inmates, but also from the staff. Okay. That's, I can see it, but, you kind of put yourself in that situation, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I could see where possibly if you have a woman that wants to transition to a male, still has woman parts, and a male staff assaults or whatever. Not saying it's right, but I'm saying I could see that. Whereas a dude, straight up dude in a dude's prison in a male staff, that one I'm not saying it's never happened, or probably I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that one's a little bit more, not far-fetched, but that one's a little bit harder for me to grasp than the other one.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to see the statistics on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things that we had found is in 2015, there was a report by the Justice Department that estimated that 35% of trans prisoners surveyed had reported being sexually assaulted behind bars within the last year. Now, again, this is from 2015. Under the Trump administration, the Bureau of Prisons was required to use biological sex as the initial determination for housing trans prisoners. So the ACLU had to step in on that one a little bit.
ACLU. Man, they're a piece of shit.
Yes. So in 2020, NBC News investigation tracked 45 states and Washington, D.C., found out that 4,890 transgender inmates in state prisons, only 15 were confirmed to be housed according to their gender. Very interesting. Scary stuff. And then we have
so only 15. So out of 4,800, almost 4,900, only 15 were where they were supposed to be by the sex
correct
they're born with. All the rest of them are housed in, and I'm assuming that probably the bulk of that is males identifying as females and going into a female prison.
Right. Right.
That's almost 5,000, dude, and
that's a lot of people, and especially in tight quarters and things like that. Ooh. In January of this year, The Biden administration restored Obama-era guidelines for federal prisons to house transgender inmates by their gender identity when appropriate. The guidelines also require prison staff to refer to trans inmates by their lived name and pronouns.
So fucking bullshit.
I don't know. It kind of blew my mind. Now, during the research and everything, I can't tell you how many times the Eighth Amendment had popped up. So just to give you an idea of this, to the Constitution of the United States, part of the Bill of Rights that limits the sanctions that may be imposed by the criminal justice system on those accused or convicted of criminal behavior. So that's going to pop up quite a few times. And with that, it is basically just because you're a criminal, you're not allowed to be treated like garbage or anything like that.
Yeah, but me personally, do not think that having the transition surgery, comes to the definition of sanctions.
Correct.
Correct. But I'm sure that they argue that. Well, that's needed care. They have to have no, they don't.
Right. So the one thing that I will say is when it comes to the medications and things like that, transgender dysmorphia kind of popped up. So I kind of look at it this way, is I have asthma. So there are medications that I need to take. So those should be provided to me through the state, whether I pay for it or not. And that would be, as far as I'm concerned, the same thing with if you were taking hormones and things like that prior to being incarcerated, that you should be able to get those simply because it's going to lead to much greater issues to the person themselves and other people around them. Now, as far as, like, Gary, what you had described is the fact that if I'm in prison, I have multiple life sentences, I'm never going to get out. If I decide one morning I have this great idea that now I'm going to identify as a woman, I completely am against that. I mean, if you have prior illnesses or you're taking prior medications, to being incarcerated, then I think it would be allowed. But once you're in there, as far as I'm concerned, you have lost your rights at that point in time. So
would you think that a transgender has lost their rights to, say, hormones if it's not considered, now I'm saying if, and that would have to be obviously up to a medical professional, but what if a medical professional says that they do not need the hormones in order to live, like say for instance, if they don't take them, they're going to die.
Right.
Do they still have should they have access to those medications?
Yeah, see, this is where you start to walk that gray line, that razor sharp line. I mean, I would have to say, if a certified medical staff, someone that's not involved in anything, so I'm talking third party, if they said that, hey, they'll be okay, then in my opinion, I would have to go with that outside party and say, I think you'll be okay.
Because they could possibly talk about their mental state, right? Now, one might say, well, you're in freaking jail.
Right.
All right. So your mental state is just out the door already.
Right.
So, because the reason I ask that question is because then you get into a slippery slope. So let's just say I was taking hormones before I got in, committed a crime, whatever. Now I'm in prison. Now I say I need the hormones or whatever, for whatever reason, and I have the ACLU says they need them. So what if I am slightly obese and I'm taking Ozempic. Not necessarily for diabetes,
Right, but for weight
loss. And then once I get into prison, and I say I still need that because I'm trying to lose weight, because if I don't lose weight, then I'm endangering my health. I want all the taxpayers to pay for my Ozempic.
So I would look at it again as, it's not like you have cancer or if you have a major medical issue. I can understand the fact that, someone would want to lose weight that was on that prior to.
Personally, I think you go to jail, you're going to be losing weight anyway.
Exactly. It's called Staying Alive. Bee Gees wrote a song about that. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like I was saying before, is like with the hormones and things like that, if it was something that you were taking prior, that would be one thing. But if a doctor would step in and say, hey, the hormones, you're fine without them, as long as it doesn't, because that's the other part of the slope is, well, because Johnny isn't taking that, now there's a chance that he may harm himself or harm other people.
Correct. So that's where I get into the whole, I don't know. That to me is where things need to be, they need to assess these things, because it's like the whole thing of, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about abortion, where they say, well, then because we're already paying for abortions because taxpayers' money goes to Planned Parenthood, which basically performs abortions. So we're paying for that, which I completely am against. So this is kind of even a less controversial, if you want to call it that, topic. And again, I don't think we should even be talking about it, because I don't think you should be getting shit.
I agree.
I mean, because the point is, I understand basically you're getting, you get your 3 hots in a cot,
right?
And you're getting exercise, and you're getting this, that, and the other. Since for so many people, death penalty's off the table,
right?
And this, that, and the other, then what's incarceration?
Right. I mean, some places have cable TV. Mm-hmm. Again, according to the ACLU, you should be, reading materials that are appropriate should be given to you. Well, at least you have access to it. You can go to college in certain states. I think Maryland is one of them, that you can go and get your GED. And I believe that some of them actually you can take college courses.
That I do not have a problem with. If you're educating yourself, especially if you have an opportunity to get out,
right,
and you're trying to better yourself, that I understand. But just saying that I wanted to be able to take these drugs just so I could go hang out in the women's prison,
right. I totally disagree with that.
That's where I have the issue.
Yeah. Now, if you transition prior to, again, that, as far as I'm concerned, that's one thing. But if you just decide, like this gentleman here sued the state to have the ability to get that operation done, and the state is actually going to pay for it, which I think they did appeal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just like that. That to me, I don't know. And it was 11-month-old child, correct? That he had killed. Which again, right there, I mean, I don't care if you're male or female in whatever prison. I don't think that's looked upon very graciously.
Yeah. You said this to me. I didn't know if you wanted this up, because I know the next picture is of our wonderful friend that ended up killing the child.
Yeah, the gangbanger.
Yeah.
So this picture here, actually, again, I kind of went down the rabbit hole with this one, but this is something that people identify. The respondents who identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender in the United States from 2012 to 2023, and you can see that it goes up at that point, especially now in 2023. One of the issues that I have, or actually I should say a major issue that I have is, okay, so you're roughly, going by this statistic, you're a little over 7%. And we are making a huge, huge deal about 7% of the population. And I think anymore, it's kind of it's like it's in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not to knock religion, but it's almost like the Mormons knocking on your door every other day and want to tell you all the other good stuff. Exactly.
Nobody's home.
Right. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
So basically, yeah. So here's kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys. So this is the New York State. This is the book in which they base everything off as to identify if you're transgender and if you're eligible to go to said prison that you identify to. So it's basically an inmate who identifies transgender, intersex, or gender non-conforming during a risk screening who has diagnosis of gender dysphoria or intersex shall be asked additional questions by their ORC using the gender identity interview form regarding the gender identity, expression, and preferences. The interview will also document the inmate's statement regarding their safety in connection with decisions regarding their housing and placement. Hell, I could do that. If you're going to put me in with a bunch of freaking killers, I could say, you know what? I want to identify as a girl, shave my beard. Hell, I put in a little lip gloss on and say, yeah, I identified. Now get me the hell out of here. Upon request for the inmate who identifies as transgender for a transfer from a male classified facility to a female or vice versa, ORD shall notify the supervising offender rehabilitation coordinator upon completion of the gender identity interview. Now, as what I just read, it doesn't say that the gender identity interview is given by a psychologist or a medical doctor. It's just given by staff. So I don't know where they have the ability to actually assess that and whatever. So an inmate who identifies as transgender or intersex will not be placed in a gender-specific facility, housing unit, or program based solely on their external genital anatomy. So right there, they're already they already opened the door for you, right off the bat, right. And lastly, a transgender or intersex inmate's own view with respect to his or her own safety shall be given serious consideration. So again, we're taking one of the aspects of why these people are in prison out of the equation, because it's punishment. Let's be honest. And if you wanted a country club, join the or you wanted to get a little jamboree, join the Boy Scouts. But Scouts of Scouting America.
There you go.
Excuse me, we can't be Boy Scouts anymore. But it's like, bruh, that's part of the deal. Is you're gonna be in there with animals and shit, right? I mean,
go to Russia and see their prisons.
Yeah, no shit. So the individual,
Jesus,
the individual that Ed had described is right here. Now, let me tell you something. This guy, and I'm going to call him a guy, you can go fuck himself, is a real piece of work. So this is Jonathan Richardson, also known as Autumn Cordeleon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this piece of shit in 2001 was convicted of strangling his stepdaughter to death. Now, his stepdaughter was 11 months old. So it's an infant. All right? strangled the little baby to death, right? Now he's convicted. He got a life sentence. And now he's arguing, 55-year prison sentence. Excuse me. And now he's arguing that he wants to be, or that he is a transgender and wants to be moved to the female prison. He was initially denied back in the day, and then the wonderful group that Ed previously mentioned, the ACLU, which should stand for, like, I don't know, assholes and whatever else you want to put there. These people are fucking just, they're pieces of shit. They really are. They don't use common sense when it comes. They just want to, spread bullshit, right? So they took up the case, and the Judge Richard Young actually agreed with ACLU. I'm sure this guy's a real piece of work too, and showed that dysphoria is a serious, that the judge ruled that the gender dysphoria is a serious medical need, and that despite the treatments provided, she needs the gender affirming surgery to prevent a risk of seriously bodily and or psychological harm.
But it was okay to do that to the 11-month-old.
Yeah, strangle her to death,
yeah.
Kill her. And now we're worried about this piece of shit. Well, I'll go and say we're worried about this piece of shit's life. I don't give a shit about her life, his, her, it. Look at it. Look at this shit. I don't even know what to say really on this one, because it's, this is a piece of shit. And so, and the judge also said that they were going to use it on taxpayers' money. He agreed with that. And they also, ACLU also said that Richard here should get other accommodations, including panties, makeup, and form-fitting clothing. So where in the hell in the prison handbook does it say you're allowed all this stuff plus form-fitting clothing? Don't you want to prevent that kind of shit from happening?
Right, you're drawing attention to yourself.
So we're basically setting up a fucking brothel,
right,
in the damn prison system.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Now I can understand the ACLU doing this outside of the prison walls and standing up for transgenders and gay and lesbian and things like that. But I agree with you. Inside the prison walls, again, as far as I'm concerned, you are stripped of all of your rights, obviously, except for the Eighth Amendment.
Except for normal human, like they don't starve you to death.
Fair treatment,
this, that, and the other. Although I think if you personally, I think if you strangled an 11-month-old baby, you don't get even that. But that's in my America or my world. My world. I mean, I'd just go ahead and put a bullet in your fucking head. Be done with you.
Yeah.
Bury you in a big old pit. I don't know to give a shit. So the Attorney General, who's Republican, says, of course, we're going to repeal this. And let's see. ACLU also agreed that the gender affirming surgery is necessary so her physical identity can be aligned with her gender identity. So the whole point that people try to make, or that people make, is that gender dysphoria is a mental condition. So the last thing you want to do, is give in to somebody's delusions in a physical manner by by giving them this surgery.
Right.
That's like if somebody's schizophrenic or something, and they think the people walking out there are I don't know, flying monkeys or something, and they need to be killed. So let's go ahead and kill these people so that way they feel better. So that they
Yeah, let's put them in general.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. That's a very extreme. But the point is, if they have gender dysphoria and you are doing physical physical surgeries that are irreversible, you're giving into that to their, because they've said gender dysphoria is a mental sickness, is what it's been described. So you're going to give into that sickness with physical attributes.
Right.
That doesn't make any damn sense.
The way that I kind of look at this, that I would describe it, is we work for a company that has 100 employees, and there's a report that needs to be filled out for whatever. Now, out of the 100 people, 99 of the people fill out the report 100% perfect. But there's one person, just one out of 100, that cannot fill this report out correctly. So let's not help them or guide them to make it 100% of the people. So we're going to change it against the 99 people that can do this report properly, but we're going to change it so that the one person that can't do it properly will now be able to do it. That's realistically what we're doing. And even Ed and I had discussions before we came on the show or started the show, in the fact of so Kamala Harris's administration, so she has said on numerous times, and again, don't believe me, go look it up. You'll find it. It's there, where she has said that she fully supports gender transition surgery, taxpayer supplied, mind you, for inmates. And I'm like, bruh, I mean, how about, I don't know, let's do something crazy like make sure everybody's got enough food to eat every day. How about that? Because that's I know that's a radical idea, especially when you have almost 4,000 children in the U.S. citizens die of hunger. Right.
You have almost 4,000 kids die of malnutrition every year in the U.S. because they're not getting enough to eat. But yet, Bucky here, what was it? Carleon. Yeah, what was the Autumn. Autumn here needs surgery so she can go to women's prison, and we're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars for that. But yet, children eating, I guess, is probably a little bit
right.
Selfish or something. I don't know.
Right.
Like, God forbid if everybody actually has something to eat. Or the fact that we're trying to take care of our veterans, or even our, even like say, let's say firefighters or policemen that get hurt in the line of duty. Well, we ain't got time for that. Or we ain't got money for that. We need to get Bucky here, Miss Cordeleon, surgery so she can go in a women's prison and then go, all day. Right.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the whole thing with this operation, just like you had said, is you can't turn it back. You will never have another orgasm. You will never experience sex the same as you did prior to this operation. I mean, if you're that dead set on it, I say go for it. Now, I did work with someone that did go completely transgender. They made the full switch.
Really?
And I'm telling you,
from guy to girl?
Yep. And she paid for it all herself.
Was she hot?
She paid for it all herself. I'm telling you, is one of the nicest people yeah, exactly, I have ever met. And this is a difficult subject for me, simply because I've can't say been a part of it, but I have witnessed it. And she was not in anybody's face. It wasn't refer to me as them, they. It just like an every single day thing. And that's just the way it was. But where I have the issue is like, you know, it's thrown at your face. It's like being pushed upon us. And now seeing this with someone in prison, I just, you know, it boggles my mind. If you've already had it done prior to, okay, I'm all for it. But you're incarcerated, in this case, for 55 years. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is this. If you want to transition, hey, it is absolutely a free effing country. If you want to go have the surgery that you pay for on your own, and you're not sticking the taxpayers with it, by all means, go do whatever you want.
Right.
You know, I don't want people telling me what to do.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna you know, burden everybody else with what I want to do or what I think I should either have or transition to. It's kind of the same thing with abortion. If I just went and had casual sex and all of a sudden I got an abortion, you know, get a kid and I want an abortion, you know, I don't want to pay for that.
Right.
You know, so again, do whatever you want as long as it doesn't affect anybody else. If it's all you, hey, more power to you. I don't give a shit one way or another.
Right.
My thing is, again, is if we are either, number one, having taxpayers' money pay for these surgeries and or the medications like the puberty blockers,
right,
for the younger ones, or the fact that we have to change society in the way it's been biologically for thousands and thousands of years, to say we're going to change society to say this, that a man can be a woman. I'm sorry, that's not a place that I'm going to go. Now, as an individual, I'll respect you enough to kind of roll with you. But if you're saying that, as like that's the whole big thing with Jordan Peterson, is they said you have to. We in Canada they said we are going to make that an actual lawful mandate that you have to do that. And Jordan Peterson's like, I refuse to, because
right,
now you're infringing on my free speech.
Correct.
Because now you're saying I have to do this.
Right.
And that is where we get the what's up, Dutch? Working with transgender at the moment, not closely, but still, it's a struggle. She's not easy. Pretty sure it's just the personality, but she's not advertisement for transgenders. Hello, Dutch.
Hey, Dutch.
And it's like Ed said, if you're just living your life, I'm going to respect that too.
Absolutely.
All right, because I actually work with some gay, not transgenders, but gay, some gay people. I treat them the same as everybody else. You know, it's not any different. And I will say, as Ed said, they're not like, and of course I'm being extreme, they're not coming in with, you know, tasseled G-strings and sparkles and, like, you know, all in your face. They just come, you know, like there's a couple of women, they kind of dress like men, but again, they dress a little bit more masculine, but it's not a in your face, whatever. They're
right,
just like, hey, this is the way I roll, but I'm here to do a job. And in that aspect, I'm 100% on board. Do what you want to do. It's your life.
right.
Yeah. But it's the big thing of changing society is where I have the big issue.
Right. Right. And, you know, going back to the whole prison thing, that's where I have the problem. Outside of the four walls of prison, you know, I think we agree you can do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
I am
absolutely.
I am for you 110%.
And as long as you're an adult.
Absolutely.
The big thing is the puberty blockers and everything else for these kids. that aren't adults yet.
Right. You can't turn that back.
Right. No problem. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have a problem whatsoever. Matter of fact, I even served with a dude in the military that was gay. Not a problem. We kind of messed with him a little bit and said, hey, don't look in the shower. And he would say something like, well, you guys would be the last people I'd look at. So we actually kind of, it was a little bit of a
like a tit for tat.
Yeah. So it was a little elephant in the room in the beginning, but everybody was just kind of like, whatever, you do your job, you do your thing. I don't give a shit. And that's how it is. It's the people. It's kind of almost like a vegan, where they just have to throw it in your face every 5 seconds. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Go live your life. Do your job like everybody else. I don't care.
Right.
But again, it's like when we get either to kids or where the problem we're having with Kamala is she is all for taxpayer money going for transition surgeries.
Right. And don't forget about the illegals that have come in. Yeah.
And she also wants to increase taxpayer money for abortions. And it's like, no. You want to do you want it on your own? That's fine and good.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's just, but you can't have that opinion because then you're homophobic.
Yes.
It's like, no, I'm not. It's like, bruh, I do my thing. I don't say that everybody that I come across, because I'm a Christian, you have to believe in Jesus. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to beat it down. I'm going to beat you on the head, over the head with the Bible until you are a believer.
Conform, yeah.
No, that's not how I do. That's not how I roll. And I don't want you to come up in my face with that bullshit either.
Right.
Let's just see. That's my big thing is if we're all, even if we're different, if we all work together and we come in, like say at work, come in, do our job and whatever else, and we show respect to each other and everything else, that's fine. It's when we start, pulling people out, or specializing, or not specializing, but having special things like say gay pride, right? So now they want to be recognized. No, okay, if you're gay, so if I say, hey, Ed, what did you and your wife do this weekend? And you're like, well, I have a husband. I'm gay. I say, well, okay, my bad. Well, what did you and your husband? And we move on.
Right. Right. I'm not going to HR and filing paperwork because you really upset me.
Yeah.
I don't want an officer who is gay on deployment.
He was gay as he goes.
One of the best. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, definitely if
he was really, really gay. Must be. So I guess he was flamboyant.
Right. But I mean, the thing of it is like in situations like that, situations with being in the military, I don't care what your belief is before we go in, but if the bullets start flying, I want to know that you're going to have my back.
Yeah. That's all we give a shit about. I don't care religious or not religious or this or that, whatever. I just need to know you're competent and,
Yeah, you got to get my 6.
Yeah.
No.
Other than that, I don't give a shit.
Right. Right. So another one of these lovely nuggets that I had found.
It's called flamboyant.
Oh boy. So,
or flaming.
Yeah. One of the other things that I looked at too in my search was I typed in how many transgender inmates are there. So this one was a gem that came from BBC News.
We're going over the pond.
We're going over the pond
in
2018. This was August 13th of 2018. And then it goes, we submitted Freedom of Information requests to the Ministry of Justice. It said that 60 of the 125 inmates it counted in England and Wales were serving time for sexual offense. So this is roughly half, but it's not the full picture. Remember, those 125 transgender inmates only include people who have had prison case conferences. It won't include transgender people who haven't identified themselves to the prison service or who already have a gender recognition certificate, which I thought was interesting, which we did go over that a couple months ago. So what they mean by is transgender certificate or gender recognition certification is the fact that, so over here, I can wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? I think I'm going to be a female. I identify with the female gender. Over there, it's a completely different story. You have to go through psychological, meetings and things like that. So it's about a year-long process. Once you have been determined as, yes, I understand, and you are fully aware that you now identify as a female, you get a certificate.
Ooh, I want my certificate.
But with that being said, like I said tonight, I'm going to flip the switch. So tomorrow being Monday, I now am going to turn my gender into female. But that means over there on Tuesday, I can't just wake up and be like, you know what? That was a bad idea. I'm going to stay a male. Once you're in, you're in. And you have to go through the same process
to get out.
Because
my thing is, like, so if you go into prison, and not saying that like a female prison guard hasn't seen a penis before,
right?
All right, but at the end of the day, if she has to sit there and while you change or you do this or whatever, whatever things they have to do to supervise, that she has to sit there and watch a dude undress, and it's just like, bruh, it's bullshit,
right?
It's bullshit, right? Yeah, they're like, oh, well, get over there, adults, and this, that, and the other. It's profession and stuff. It's not the point,
right?
It's not the fucking point,
right?
Right. If I'm a female, now if I'm a female prison guard in a male prison, and then I know everything that I'm getting myself into because that's the thing,
right?
But if I'm a female correction officer and I specifically go to work in a female prison, women's prison, I should not expect to see a schlong,
right?
Whatever.
Right. No, I agree 100%.
Because I'm sorry. Because if that's the case, then we as a society will that slope will go all the way down, and so we will allow that shit to happen eventually in kids,
right?
Like elementary school or middle school, or in the locker room, and the dude is changing in the girls' locker room.
Right.
How would you want 6-year-olds girls and 7-year-old girls having to see a dude and stuff like
right? So, it's funny you say that, because that portion just reminded me of the Leah Thomas. So Leah Thomas.
Yep, Leah Thomas.
So just imagine the women's swim team. And they had no idea that this guy was going to woman was going to come in and be a part of their team. They had no idea that this was coming. So this transgender person decides to come in and strip down in front of women. So that, to me, seems...
Yeah, and you're talking about college age.
Right.
Yeah.
And, obviously they're going to be naked or half naked as well, because they have to get into their swimsuits.
Yeah, they go buck naked. So,
right. Yeah, let's see.
Guy was committed. So over in the UK, guy was convicted for multiple rapes, suddenly decides to identify as a woman and ends up women's correctional facility.
That is correct. So out of going back to the thing that I had found from the BBC, of the 60 serving time for sexual offenses, 27 were convicted of rape, plus a farther 5 attempted rapes as well. 27. 13 convicted of possession, distributing, or making indecent images of children. 13 convicted of sexual assault or attempted sexual assault. 9 convicted of causing or inciting a child under 16 to engage in sexual activity. 7 convicted of sexual activity with a child. 7 convicted of indecent assault or gross indecency. So that's over in the UK and Wales. Now, again, I'm going to say that this was 125 inmates, transgender inmates. And again, this is back in 2018. There is a group over there that's called the Fair Play for Women in UK. And the spokesperson, this is actually kind of interesting. Sorry, I went to a different page. If proposed law changes would allow a group of dangerous offenders to be transferred to women's prisons, we need to know what risk that poses. We need data and facts. So I thought that was actually kind of interesting. Now, with that being said, I actually found a report similar to this for over here. And that was one of the slides that I sent you. So there were 29 people that were looked at in the United States prison that are transgender or gay, and that's all that they could come up with over here, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Only 29?
Only 29.
That bullshit.
And, you know, it was pretty interesting. They show you a graph of, you know, black, white, Hispanic, things like that. And then, you know, it was like on one of the other reports, it was about, you know, what was that? Sexual preferences and things like that. Where is that? So you guys can see what I'm talking about here.
I thought, yeah, I have to look. I thought, I didn't know if you were just showing me something or if you were actually, here we go.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't know if we can see these, but.
Yeah, these are kind of small. Sorry, guys. Okay, so if you notice at the top of this, most transgender people in state prisons don't identify as straight. And again, this is out of the 29 people that were surveyed. So you can see that 9 are lesbian or gay, 3 were bisexual, something else other than straight, which is 5, and then you have 5 straight people, and then you have 7 that don't know or refuse to answer. Interesting.
And 29 served, they only found 29.
Yes.
Bullshit.
So
Bullshit.
you can kind of see how things are swayed.
Yeah, because that's bullshit.
Right. So very scary stuff.
So what was it? Was this? Was it all the same?
No, there was one other one that I said.
Oh,
there we go. Identify as straight, and then
there we go.
Most transgender people in state prisons are people of color. So then you've got the 8 black, Hispanic. You know, I don't know.
That's bullshit. 29 out of the whole prison system.
29 people.
Shit. That's bull.
29 people.
That's bullshit right there.
Absolutely.
That's man.
So yeah, that rabbit hole dives deep. But again, I mean, you know, guys, do your own research on this stuff. With Kamala Harris, it's coming. Yeah. It's coming.
God forbid. I hope she better not get it.
Right.
She better not get it. I think I have a little bit, just a
you
little
got some more, man.
Things on her. Yeah, she's also talking about migrant illegal inmates also receiving surgery. Of course, she also thinks that illegals should also be able to vote, get paid. We should pay for their abortions. So in a 2020 questionnaire, ACLU has this. It says that, excuse me, she says, my values haven't changed. I don't know how many times I heard that. Bullshit. Where she says, where she supports adding a third gender to federal identification cards, i.e. driver's license. I mean, it's not federal, but having from federal and then coming down into the states. She also talks about, she says, of course, she goes, my entire life, a career, been an ally and see the issue of LGBTQ rights as fundamental civil rights and human rights issue, period. Okay, that's bullshit, because your sexuality or whatever is not a God-given constitutional right, you know? And it's just like, bruh, that's not the way it works. And well, she wants abortion to be she's even said it before. She wants abortion to be a right, a human right. It's like, so where do we switch? Oh, let's not get down that road. But let me just ask you one question, just real quick. Put it in your head. Where do we switch to the fact of an abortion being a medical necessary procedure to where everybody's fine with just killing babies left and right? Because they always bring up, rape and incest, which is like, I think, less than 2%.
Right.
And even then, I would say, I would like to see it on a case-by-case basis on this and the other. But you can't take the other 98% and say, and have the tail wag the dog and say, these 98% people who want to have abortions.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have thought of that beforehand. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most of the Planned Parenthood places actually give out free condoms.
They do. And they do other contraceptives as well.
Right.
That's part of what their thing is. And then a lot of people will say, a lot of women will say, well, then guys should be taking care of that too. All right. Wearing, condoms, whatever. And I'll agree with you.
Absolutely.
Right? But here's the problem with that. Or not with that, but here's the problem. A guy has no say in anything whatsoever that has to do with any of that. So if a woman gets pregnant, the guy has no say in what happens, and he's screwed. So I'll be honest with you. I don't understand why more men don't take precautions on their own. Because if you don't want a kid, but she wants to have a kid, she can have it, and there's nothing you can say about it.
That is correct.
And now you're on the hook, because now you are the father, so she can come after you for child support and all this other stuff.
18 years.
Yep. And let's just say you guys do have a child, and she does not want it. She can go have an abortion or get rid of it, and you have, again, no say in it whatsoever.
Right.
And you know what else that doesn't cover, which I just researched that up too as well. I know we're getting off topic here. Even if you're married, like you still do not have a say. Which you would think you would, because marriage is actually a legal contract, in all
sure
intents and purposes. But no, you still, even when you're married, you still do not have a say as the man. Whether or not, so let's say you guys are married and have a child, and she gets pregnant, and as a father or as a husband and thing, you're probably excited, this and the other, and she's like, I don't want it, and she can go have an abortion.
Right.
There ain't a damn thing you can say about it.
Right. Or if the possibility of divorce or anything like that happens, and you know what, I want to piss him off. Let's make it happen.
Jesus. I mean, and it's kind of the same thing with. In an essence of transgenders, in the fact of so in essence I don't want to pay for pay the consequences for my actions, i.e. the crime that I committed, right? Because I don't want to sit in a prison with all these, let's just say I'm not as tough as a lot of these people and this, that, and the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify as a woman, and then you are going to take me and put me in a women's prison.
Right.
And in essence, I understand you don't have necessarily freedom, but you're still not paying the consequences that you were supposed to pay.
Correct.
So, there you go.
So, doing my deep dive, I actually found two papers. Actually, one was a book, which was even more interesting. So what I have here is appropriate placement and treatment of transgender prisoners, constitutional concerns and arguments for alternative housing and treatment policies. So this was actually written by Scott J., and I know I'm going to hammer his last name, Schwickart. This was actually written in December of 2018, and it was last revised in May of 2021. So I just did a couple, little excerpts out of here. I tell you what, this is an amazing paper. If you guys, just kind of want to see it, it's well written, kind of lays out everything. So the first paragraph in the introduction: many of these health and safety issues stem from the ways in which virtually all American prison authorities classify and house transgender inmates, which is placement based solely on an individual prisoner's genitalia or birth sex. So if you're a male and you say that you're a female and you have male genitalia, guess what? You're going to a male prison.
Well, it makes sense to me.
So the next little excerpt that I got here is, turning to the current issue, the problem facing the safety and health of transgender prisoners is severe and well documented. Transgender prisoners are disproportionately the victims of sexual assault, suffering higher rates of sexual assault than the general population inmates, while also suffering from increased isolation over their inmate peers. The increased risks and occurrences of sexual abuse and violence have created a significant health crisis for transgender inmates. And we go on. So
as an inmate, as an inmate,
mm-hmm.
how do you mitigate that? Because if you're just talking about remember I read the New York Guide?
Right.
You're allowed to wear makeup.
That is correct.
Panties and tight-fitting clothing.
Right.
Again, nobody has the right to put their hands on them, but at the end of the day, we're talking about prisoners.
Absolutely.
That don't have any morals. So you think, the problem is they're under, what'd you say, higher rate.
Correct.
Well, if you walk around like that, especially as somebody that hasn't seen a woman in 50 whatever,
right,
it's going to happen.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess with that being said, what I think I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the military, men have this is your uniform. This is everything from your socks to your tops.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that the females are going to have the same exact thing, right? I mean, not as the male, but here is the book of the women serving in the military.
Yeah.
By the book, this is what you're going to wear, which
it's the same thing, but it's slightly different because a lot of them have like bigger butts.
Sure. So it's augmented for women.
So it's augmented, but yes, yeah, they're not getting. Except for like Class A's,
right,
where they might have a skirt instead of pants.
Sure.
But other than that, you're still held to certain regulations, and your uniform, like your battle dress uniform, BDUs, is the same look,
right,
all that shit. So,
I mean, again, I'm just thinking out loud. The shows that I have seen inside prisons, like the first 60 days or whatever. I've always seen everybody wearing the exact same type of, I guess, uniform, the males and the females. And I can tell you, looking at the women's, the attire that they have been provided by the prison doesn't show me anything as to, wow, look at the curves on her or anything like that. I mean, it's just the same exact thing for men as it is for women, except one is orange and the other one might be blue or black or whatever like that. So, I guess my question with this whole thing of the form-fitting, why should a male that identifies as a female have the ability to do this, but the women who are actually women that are in women's prisons don't have that option?
Again, being
blows my mind.
Set apart. They're in a sense getting special treatment.
Absolutely.
Of a couple percent out of the whole.
Right.
It makes no. Yeah.
Right. So as the article continues to go on, a prime example is in how courts make medical treatment and security decisions related to transgender prisoners. Next paragraph. Safety and health risks. The broader issue is a problem for prisons as well, as risks to institutions include legal liability, high cost of emergency or sexual care for those who self-harm, and potentially increased cost for safe housing arrangements. The Eighth Amendment, here we go again, constitutional violations if they fail to protect inmates from harm. So now again, you've opened the door.
Well, it should say reasonable harm.
Right.
Is what because at the end of the day, I can't be. There's not one for one. There's not one guard for every inmate.
That is correct.
And for me to keep you 100% safe is just impossible. I mean, that's why we do lock you down at night and this, that, and the other, but, and then try to patrol when you're during the day. But now if they're going to say that transgenders need special security, and then there you go.
So this is still continuating on the same document, current problems and issues. So the status quo of most prisons and jails in the United States, with some exceptions discussed later, is to house transgender prisoners according to their birth biological sex and not according to their affirmed gender identity, which we've gone over this a couple times. Sorry to beat the dead horse. The practice of housing prisoners based on their genitalia alone creates a substantial risk of rape and prolonged sexual abuse by the hands of more aggressive prisoners. Genitalia-based placement puts the transgender inmate, in particular the male to female transgender inmate, at a significant risk of being beaten, raped, or even killed. So now to answer your last question that you had just brought up, placing transgender prisoners in administrative segregation. This removes the transgender prisoners from the general population. Prisons will routinely place transgender inmates in some form of segregation or isolation, you ready for this, against their will, allegedly for their own good. So I want you to keep me safe as a transgender prisoner, but I think it's bullshit that you're going to pull me off in segregation against my will. But I want you to protect me.
And I'm sure with prisons, when they do that, it's because, for liability issues.
Sure.
They're like, well, if we have to provide a certain amount of security for you, the only way we can do that is put you in solitary or at least, restricted.
Sure. So now, in my mind, and again, if anybody knows this, please correct me, is that by putting this person in segregation or isolation, basically now you have created a 23-in-1 position. So out of 24 hours a day in segregation, you would be allowed 1 hour out.
Yes.
So 23 hours of the day you're behind locked doors, and for 1 hour a day you are actually allowed to come out and do whatever for 1 hour.
Yeah,
Yeah. So administrative segregation, this is a double victimization champion as the solution. So again, I want you to protect me, but by you protecting me, you've now victimized me twice.
So yeah. So then what is their solution?
That's the problem. So in 2009, Washington, D.C. Department of Corrections, so this is in regarding the housing of transgender inmates, one of the only few jurisdictions in the nation to permit transgender inmates to be housed according to their gender identity in appropriate cases. The policy created a transgender committee made up of a medical practitioner, mental health clinician, correctional supervisor, chief case manager, and a volunteer who is an expert on transgender issues. Interesting. So now this sliver of percentage has now created another, I guess, form of government. We now have another group that has been created for these people.
So now we're taking significant amount of resources
and money
just because you don't want to, basically, in what I'm considering, you don't want to serve out your punishment.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to serve out my punishment as a male.
As a male.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the punishment.
Exactly. So the transgender committee, they decide how to house that individual based on their needs and vulnerability, and will ultimately decide whether or not an inmate will be assessed to the male and female population. So back to your point, as a male inmate who has been arrested multiple times and faces multiple charges for rape, now identifies as a woman, that would go through this committee, at least in Washington, D.C., and would possibly have the ability to now be housed in a female prison, even though
I'm a rapist. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, to me, it goes along with the male, men and women's sports.
Right.
The women have no rights whatsoever. It's all about the one or two transgenders or whatever, and that's it. So,
right, and that all goes through a committee. The same thing as this Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
It goes through a committee. So somebody approves this stuff.
Somebody
it's
does.
Not like tomorrow Joe Smith is going to go walking into the women's locker room and say, "Hey, I'm now a female."
Yeah.
Scary.
It is scary. We've had that. We've had issues in high school, especially down in Virginia, just below us.
Right.
Where girls getting raped.
Right.
And they covered it up, which I don't, that would just boggles my mind. Yeah. Boggles.
So my last thing, sorry to kind of drag this out. What I have here, I found this lovely gem. It was a 180-page book that was created, of course, by lawyers in California.
There's a surprise.
That it goes over your rights as a prisoner in prison in California. It's 180 page, right? So all the big hubbub for the LGBTQ plus rights was only covered by 10 pages. 10 pages. Over 60 pages of how to place an appeal for your judgment and what to expect and everything else after the appeal has been placed. This is a hot button, but we've only got 10 pages. And I've only got 2 from this one, which I thought was very interesting. So, your right to facility placements. Placement in male or female facilities. Prison officials have the obligation to keep LGBTQ plus people safe from harm. For a very long time, transgender and intersex people were placed in male or female facilities based on their sex assignment at birth, regardless of their gender identity, despite the risks to their safety. So we've heard this multiple times in multiple different ways during this research. Same thing with you, right?
Yep.
Eighth Amendment. It may also be possible to challenge your facility. Now, again, this is written by lawyers, so we're going to get our foot in the door. To challenge your facility placement in court, though we recommend you speak to a lawyer first, i.e. the lawyer that wrote this book. The Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act. So this is going to be referred to PREA, P-R-E-A. So PREA standards require that the decision to place transgender and intersex people in women or men's facilities must be made on an individualized case-by-case basis to ensure the person's safety. Later on, prisons are also supposed to review transgender and intersex housing placements twice a year or when issues arise and make adjustments at that time. So I guess the thing that kind of jumps out me here, or when issues arise. So now you have a guy that's in a woman's prison that we know that there's going to be something, 50-50 shot that something is going to happen because, again, we may have a rapist, anything like that, or when occasions arise. A little too late at that point in time.
Well, occasions are going to arise.
Absolutely.
For shit's sake.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point of why I want to get it put in a women's prison.
Right. Although you cannot bring a lawsuit for a violation of PREA, you can use PREA and PREA violations as evidence to support an Eighth Amendment, there we go again, failure to protect claim. Some states, including California, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, now allow transgender women to be housed in female facilities regardless of their surgery status. It gets better. Challenging housing placements in court. Some transgender women have brought lawsuits against prison officials for categorizing them as men and placing them in male facilities, rather than treating them as women and placing them in female facilities, but these cases are very difficult to win. So here's the big one. This one got me. On one occasion, a non-transgender woman brought a lawsuit because a transgender woman was housed with her in a female facility. The plaintiff, a non-transgender woman, argued that a transgender woman should not be housed with her and that prison officials were violating her privacy rights. You ready for this? The court ruled against the plaintiff and said that the prison officials were not liable for placing a transgender woman in a female facility with her. Now, this was actually a real court case. This is Crosby v. Reynolds. So, first off, now we have a double standard. It's okay for me being a guy that now I identify as a woman to be placed into a woman's prison. But the women have to, at this point, they have to deal with it. Yeah. They got to deal with it. So now what we have right now is a double standard. And then again, you have the Eighth Amendment rights. So going back to that we've heard multiple times in here is that the prison needs to protect me. So for this poor woman that is in prison for God knows what, she's not being protected. But as a male, they're being protected.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole point I was trying to make with the men and women's sports, is the women have no rights.
Correct.
It's all about the transgender. Now so what amazes me is, like, what could possibly be the agenda to have trans rights come before anybody else? What's the end game?
Right. That's a good question. What is the end game? But, again, we have it in black and white here, and please look it up, that it's okay for the male, but it's not okay for the female. So as a male, identifying as a female in a male prison, I need protection. I need special protection. But the only way that you can provide me with special protection is 23-1. But that's bullshit because now I'm being victimized again.
Yeah, but see, my rights as a transgender trumps
straight
male rights, female rights.
Right.
Trumps all that shit.
Exactly.
And that's based on a a particular feeling that I have, not anything measurable.
Correct.
Either legally or scientifically.
Exactly.
But I thought the whole point of legality and this and the other was, what's the truth? What can I prove? Well, as a transgender, you say I feel like it, but in essence, you can't prove shit.
No, you can't. I can sit in front of all kinds of all kinds of doctors and everything, and I can say what I want them to believe. And if me doing that gets me locked up in a female prison, well, then guess what? It blows my mind.
Ridiculous.
It blows my mind.
Well, I would say it blows my mind, but I can't say I'm surprised. I can't say it because we've been dealing with this shit for the last handful of years.
Right. But okay, so let's flip the switch. I'm a female that I identify as a male.
Yeah.
Are you going to put me in? I haven't had any operations or anything yet. I'm just taking hormones.
No, they won't, because they say you still need to be protected.
Right.
But yet, a male going to a female, going to a women's prison.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. But a female going to a male prison, that's apparently also not okay.
Because if the simple case is they're both the same, once I identify as a woman, I am a woman.
Right.
Then I'm fine.
Right. I blew my mind.
I don't know where I think the end game is political.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, it's political, but in what case?
Right.
Because here's my question. Because in what aspect? Because here's the thing. Because by siding on the side of on the side of transgenders, you're going to lose women voters because you are having them above me.
Right.
As a woman, you're infringing on my rights.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to. Yeah. So you're losing half your voting base by going against. So, excuse me. If the end game is political, it's a stupid way to go.
Right.
Because you're screwing yourself.
Exactly. But the ACLU didn't cover any of this out of the documents.
Of course not.
No. So it's mainly, to me, it's almost like the male transgender going to female. And if you're a female that identifies to a male, well, I'm happy for you, but you're screwed. You're not going to be protected.
Well, the female going to a male, they're going to protect her too. They're not going to I guarantee they're not going to put her in a women's prison.
Right, but you identify as a male.
Right.
So just as a prisoner, like the one knucklehead, he is a male that identifies as a woman. Well, it's okay. We're going to pay for him to have that surgery. Now, since that has opened the door, there's going to be a shit ton more cases that are going to be coming up like this, that it's going to be expected because they did it for this knucklehead, that everybody else that wants these operations, you're going to be obligated to it.
Correct. Yeah, I know women in prison aren't your biggest voter group, but it's the same aspect of putting men in, transgender men or whatever, in women's sports. There's more and more women being like, this is bullshit.
Right. And
then you're going to lose that voting population because they're going to be say, whatever. So, because the whole thing is, as far as that aspect is concerned, Kamala Harris is the one that's talking about where she is going to pay for this, for everything else. So it's the end result is in the prisons, but the viewpoints and everything she's talking about is out here.
Exactly.
So I would care to believe that the women, and if not, they should be getting pissed off about this and not going
Absolutely.
along with it, saying this is freaking bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to accommodate, it's got to be 100% both ways, not just one way.
And I would love to see an interview with a female transgender transitioning to a male that actually wants to go to a male prison.
Right.
I guarantee you they don't.
Right.
Guarantee you.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. And again, we watch the shows where you have your certain groups, like the Nazis and the Hispanic groups and things like that, the gangs that are in there. So now you have a woman that went from Stacy to Stanley. I mean, what the hell do you think's going to happen to them, right? What team are you going to play on? You're a guy. You want to be a man? Okay. I mean, there's beatdowns that happen in prisons all the time.
Yeah. And if you go in to a male prison with a vagina still.
Right. Hey, men
not good.
Yeah, men get raped all the time. I mean, it happens. Mm-hmm. So what do you think now is going to happen?
Yep. But we want to use taxpayers' money to pay for this shit, utilize all these resources to decide where people should be going.
Right.
And, in addition to all that, providing a bunch of new resources for protection and having a special treatment and a special program.
Right. But I'm pissed off about it. Because now you've double victimized me. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's either this or that. You want to be protected? Fine. This is what we're going to have to do. If you don't want to be protected, then this is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, but that's when the ACL gets involved and say, well, you're not providing enough.
Sure.
Sure. You're not providing reasonable care.
Exactly.
So.
Wow. Well, we went a little over.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that was our cup would runneth over on this.
Runneth over. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Y'all need to go look this stuff up.
Absolutely.
And realize, and if Kamala Harris gets put in as president, she's going to vouch for this. Now, whether or not Congress will pass this, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But I don't know what she can and cannot do with executive privilege if she just wants to sign it and just go that way. So that's a whole nother show in itself. But I don't know. Guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right, G-Man. What do you think? You think this is a wrap?
Oh, it's a wrap.
All right. Do you want to discuss our upcoming show?
Sure. So next week, our next show, we're going to talk about, I was going to say the Biden-Harris, but Joe's out. Boom. He's out on the beach. He's not even playing. He's not even hardly in the White House anymore.
He gone.
So we'll say the Harris immigration policy. Now, what we're talking about is the breakdown of free services. Okay, number one, it is gonna blow your mind how much services they're getting, and to the dollar amount that they're getting. We're gonna talk about that. It's gonna blow your freaking mind. And second, we're going to go over the numbers for Biden-Harris administration. Their Department of Homeland Security just put out numbers of illegal immigrant activity in the U.S., and it'll blow your minds how many documented criminals have been released in this country, and some of the actual crimes that they have committed, and the number that there is. It's going to blow your mind. You think, it might be 1,000, might be 2,000. Not even close.
No.
So we'll go over the DHS's numbers and some of these, and what these people are, like what their crime is, and the fact that they're running around. They've been released, and most of them are no-shows. and as far as their court, so they don't have no idea where they are in the country. And you'll be amazed at some of the crimes. So, yeah. So stay tuned for that not next week, but our next show, which will be 2 weeks from now.
And we'll do our best to keep it at the hour minimum. But I have a feeling that one may run over as well.
It might run over a little bit because there's a lot of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you still have documented people come. Well, that problem was solved here. Undocumented. We got undocumented.
Yeah.
What we need to do is do like Poland. We're just locked down. You just lock it down. You don't let anybody in.
Exactly. And they've stated that case, and they're absolutely right.
And they're proud of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. But wait till we reveal these numbers. And again, this is coming from their own administration.
Yes.
Their own Department of Homeland Security. So, anywho.
Yeah, off to the next.
Yep. It's going to blow your mind.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching us today and in the future. Again, as you can see down below, we have multiple ways that you can view our show. You can even get in contact with us. We would love to hear some feedback, whether it's good or bad in our favor. Please do. I mean, the only way we're going to get better is by hearing it from you. So again, thank you all. Thank you to everyone that is serving, men and women that are serving our country, that help us out all the time as far as police officers go, firefighters, you men and women that are putting their lives on the line for us to be safe.
And teachers.
And teachers. Oh, my God. I know how much of a pain in the ass I was, and that was back in the 70s and 80s. I couldn't even imagine.
Well, especially these parents are like, they can't even deal with their kid a couple hours a week.
Right.
Or a couple hours a day and stuff, and they're sending their kids to
public babysitting school.
To be taught, but then still with no discipline. And oh, by the way, I have 28 of them little sons of bitches that I have to teach.
Yep.
So, yeah. So hats off to teachers too, because
amen. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either.
I'd go bald. Wait a minute.
Me too. I used to be a teacher. No.
All right, folks.
All right.
Next time, thank you very much, and we'll see you again.
We'll see ya, and outro, and we're out.
See you guys.
Out.